I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, January the 29th, brought to you in part by Zach Tran. We're searching for the truth out of China, which is a hard deal to get because they've got worse fake news than we do about anything that appears bad in their country. All of their news that comes out of there is state-sponsored, and they keep it pretty close to their chest, and we can't really figure out what's going on. We've got some confirmed reports that maybe 100 people have died of this coronavirus, and a few thousand maybe sick. But you see reports on social media, which you can't really trust everything you see on there, but you see some stories on there that are saying that it could be exponentially worse than that. We hope that's not the case, but as you look at some of the measures that they're taking, where they're shutting cities down, there's no trade, the shelves are empty in their markets there as fear has overtaken the country from this coronavirus, and they're throwing up these emergency hospitals just almost overnight, and that takes a lot of expense, and no more than they worry about their people over there. You wonder if they would go to that much expense if it was just as bad as what they're saying it is, and almost makes you want to lean that way a little bit, that it's almost at epidemic proportions. But your markets were not quite as bad as they were on Monday, and it wasn't any better. It didn't bounce back or anything like that, but it didn't continue to tumble at the kind of measures that it did on Monday. But look at your Tuesday board. Your February live cattle futures down 10 cents at 122.15. April down 60 at 120.70. Your out fronts from there were all down too, but less than 55 cents, so not terrible. January feeder cattle actually up 15 cents at 142.05. Of course, it's trying to get in line with what cattle are actually bringing here within the next few days here, because it is going to go off the board, and it will have to even out with your CME cash feeder cattle index. March was up 22 cents at 135.40. Of course, they were down the limit on Monday, so it was glad that they didn't go down any more than that, but actually up a little bit, but not nearly enough to make up for the big losses. But you go on out from March, and all your other feeder cattle contracts were also down, but less than 50 cents, so not horrible. Your Monday's open interest in your cattle markets was down 11,000 contracts, and that's a major sell-off as your funds are deciding to get out and find something that's a little bit more secure. Your fat cattle trade, of course, we haven't established a fat cattle trade with all the uncertainty that's going on, but it's not going to be steady, guys. It's going to be lower, and we don't know how much. It just depends on how your feedlots dig their heels in, if the board bounces back anymore, but probably won't see anything till real late in the week after things kind of settle down. Iowa confirmed just a few sales from 122 to 124, but that's not established in the market at all. But your majors in Nebraska were bidding 194 dressed, which would be significantly lower, about $5 lower. Of course, nobody took that, so we'll end up in the middle somewhere. Probably $1 to $3 lower for the week by the time we finish up. Box beef cutout values. That choice select spread has decided to slim down again to about the narrowest point we've ever seen, and almost starting to invert there. But choice cuts on Tuesday afternoon, 212.85, down 74 cents. Selects up 166 at 212.16. You wonder how the selects can go up that much. They've got pretty much constant demand for those selects. There's a lot of supermarkets out there that feature select product, and that's just the kind of way they do business. It's not the worst thing in the world, guys. If you cook that right, it can be just as tender and juicy. But again, your select product, it's not that the overall quality of the product is any worse. It's just not high quality in the grading. your quality grading there. So there's not as much marbling in there, not as much fat in that meat, but it's still good, healthy product. And like I said, a lot of your end users depend on Select product, and that's what they use for food service and things like that. So it's kind of a constant demand. But that Choice Select spread on Tuesday afternoon was 69 cents, and that's it. You look at the volume that they've been trading, 153 loads. That's not bad for a one-day movement on Tuesday, but huge volume early this week on out front sales. So to be picked up down the line as we go further into the winter and towards early spring there, because some of your big end users of beef are seeing that it's at a bargain right now. They might as well get some orders of it out front, and then they'll be set up for that early spring grilling season there. But you look at some of your feeder cattle markets on Tuesday, OKC West, your calf sale on Tuesday, 2,500 head there, lighter run because the markets were down so hard on Monday, and we're going to see lighter runs everywhere for the rest of the week. I don't think it's really going to hold us back anywhere. We're going to have a whole glut of cattle to sell because we've been selling cattle, feeder cattle, pretty aggressively the last several weeks, and I don't think we're behind at all. We could stand a week of a little bit less receipts and we'll still be all right. But OKC West, 2,500 head. The calves they called sharply lower. So I'm not sure how much lower that is, but sharply lower, that's significantly lower on a lighter test of calves there at OKC West and El Reno. Some of it might have been due to the weather that they were getting in that area with some rain and snow coming through that area. Ozarks Regional Stockyards, West Plains, Missouri, 3,000 head. It seemed like the market was a little bit better there, or fears were not as bad. Steers and heifers weighing over 5.5, $3 to $5 lower, which isn't horrible, and not as much lower as a lot of your Monday markets. Your lighter weights, peewee calves, doodlers, little lightweight things, mostly steady there at West Plains. One load of bigger steers that sold in West Plains that shows you how much the market has dropped. 54 head of 808-pound steers in West Plains, Missouri, bring 133 1/4, and they called them the top quality there. So that's pretty significant. Several individual quotes that we saw come out on Tuesday. Fredonia, Kansas was selling cattle pretty well there. Long string of 7-weight steers, 134 head, weighed 717 at 148.10, and that's not the worst, and that's better than a lot of your big Monday markets. La Junta, Colorado, John Campbell and company there, they were selling the lighter weight calves like nothing had ever happened. But had 2,600 head in La Junta, pretty good run there. Sold 91 head of 514-pound thinner type steers, bring 191. That's a great quote wherever you are and whenever you're talking. Some lighter weight, 76 head, 457-pound lightweight steer calves, bring 201. So, this thing hasn't fallen completely out of bed. Kimball, South Dakota has a pretty good click on some 700-pound steers. 83 head of 696-pound steers bring 160.10, and that's a pretty good quote. But Philip the Giant had one of their big sales again, and it's just nothing for them to show up with a big monster sale. 7,800 head after a big downer Monday like that. So that's impressive, itself, just selling 7,800 head after a sharply lower Monday. But the stick-out quote for them was 97 head, 603-pound steers, 172.50. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.